Hospitals may be full of life, but deep within their morgues, something else lingers. Tonight, we dive back into the chilling experiences my friend and coworkers have lived through while working at a large hospital morgue. You will hear of their first-hand experiences of unexplained movements, phantom whispers, and the unsettling feeling of being watched. So stick around because these stories will make you question what truly rests in the morgue after dark. Alright, I guess it's finally time to share one of the many weird things that's happened to me while working the night shift at a hospital morgue. I've been working here for a few years now, and you'd think I'd be used to the eerie silence of the place, or the occasional odd sound that comes with being in the basement. But this one still gives me chills. You'd think a big city hospital morgue is always busy, right? Well, no, not really. It was a slow night, with no new arrivals, another coworker who's always upstairs on a coffee break, and me doing some mundane paperwork just to stay busy. It was around 2 a.m. when I started hearing a tapping sound. At first, I thought it was the pipes again, but I noticed that this tapping was almost rhythmic, like when you're tapping to get someone's attention. I stood up and listened for a bit, and that's when I noticed that it turned into a scratching sound, as if it recognized that I had heard it. I got chills when I realized that the scratching was coming from one of the storage drawers. I tried to rationalize it, like maybe an animal got in somehow, or maybe it was just my brain messing with me. Either way, it was a sound that shouldn't be happening, and it really freaked me out. I'm not ashamed to admit that for a solid 30 seconds, I just stood there, frozen in place, debating whether I should check or just go have an extended coffee break like my coworker. In hindsight, it should always be coffee, right? So, I walked over and flipped the light on and stood there listening. After pinpointing where the scratching was coming from, I walked over and read the tag on the drawer. It said male, mid-50s, cardiac arrest. He was brought in earlier that day. I grabbed the handle, took a deep breath, and opened the drawer. It was empty. No body. Now, at this point, I'm starting to panic. There's no way a body just disappears. I immediately scanned the room, expecting to see something, anything that would make sense of what I was seeing. But there was nothing. Then, from behind me, I hear a deep, wheezing breath. When I looked over my shoulder, I almost pissed myself. Standing just beside the table was a man in a hospital gown, head tilted to one side, with his mouth open. I was about to scream when he lunged right at me. I swear I felt cold fingers brush my arm as I stumbled back against the metal drawers. And just like that, he was gone. I screamed so loud when my coworker called my name. I didn't even realize she entered the room. When I told her what happened, she checked each of the drawers for the body, and sure enough, the body was in the drawer below the one I had opened. Turned out, day shift had placed a tag on the rolling door, and he was just trying to let us know. I didn't sleep that day, and when they checked the security footage later, they found that it had glitched at exactly 2:03 a.m. for exactly 47 seconds. That was the last time I ever opened a drawer after hearing something inside. If it happens again, whatever's in there is staying in there. I've worked as a night janitor at the hospital for about 6 years now. Within those 6 years, I've seen and heard my fair share of weird things, as in phantom footsteps, doors closing on their own, or the occasional whisper when no one's around. But the morgue, that's the one place I hate cleaning. After what happened one time, I refused to go down there alone. It was around 3 a.m., and I was just finishing up, and the morgue was my last stop. I just had to mop, take out the trash, and wipe down the counters and tables. No biggie, right? The place was quiet, which wasn't unusual. But that day, the air felt heavy. I chalked it up to being tired and just got to work. I was halfway through mopping when I noticed a shadow in the corner of the room. It wasn't moving or anything. It was just there. You see, the morgue has these big overhead lights that are so bright they damn near illuminate the next dimension. So it was weird that I was seeing a shadow, especially standing upright. I stood there staring at it for maybe a couple of minutes and then just continued mopping. When I looked back up, it was closer. The shit had moved closer to one of the beds. I took a step back because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I almost slipped on the floor trying to get out of there. I left the mop, the trash, everything. I didn't clock out or even lock up. I just power walked straight to my supervisor's office. When I told him what happened, he just sighed and told me I wasn't the first one to see it. Apparently, staff has been seeing that shadow for years. Sometimes it follows them. Sometimes it lingers in the corners. One of the nurses even swore she saw it standing over a body once. I told my supervisor that I'll clean anywhere else in the hospital, but I will not clean down there alone ever again. And I've been a doctor for nearly a decade now, and I've seen a lot of things, some explainable and some not. But I've never been the type to believe in ghosts or anything supernatural. But that changed one night during my residency. It was around 2 a.m. when I headed down to the morgue. I needed to check in with the morgue assistant about an autopsy report. The hospital was quiet. Night shifts always have that eerie feel to them. But I was exhausted and just wanted to get this over with so I can take a nap. The morgue is in the basement, and it already has the vibe of a horror movie. The air is always cold, the fluorescent lights flicker more than they should, and there's this constant hum from the ventilation that makes you feel like someone is breathing right behind you. When I got there, the assistant wasn't at her desk, which is not unusual, so I leaned on the counter and waited, and that's when I felt it. A hand. It pressed lightly on my lower back. At first, I thought it was the assistant messing with me, but when I turned around, no one was there. The room behind me was empty. A chill ran down my spine, but I tried to brush it off. Maybe my mind was playing tricks on me from lack of sleep. I took a deep breath, called out for the assistant, and stepped around the counter to look for her. And that's when I noticed one of the doors of the cold chambers was open. Not just open, it was swinging slightly. At this point, I wanted to get the hell out of there, but I forced myself to walk over and close it. Just as my hand touched the handle, something grabbed my wrist. I yanked my arm back so fast I stumbled backward. I swear the temp in the room felt like it dropped by 10 degrees. Then, the feeling was gone. The room was normal again. The assistant finally walked in and gave me a weird look. I asked her if she had just been in the room. She shook her head and said she was just outside having a smoke break. I didn't tell her what happened. I just muttered something about coming back later and got out of there. I never forgot about that touch, how it was not aggressive. It was more deliberate, like it wanted me to know it was there. I always think about it when I have to go down there, and I even started saying hello to whoever it was, because I firmly believe it didn't want to scare me. It just wanted someone to remember them. Hey guys, have you ever experienced something chilling in a place meant to be still? Hospitals, nursing homes, or funeral homes for that matter. Like whispers from something that's not there, or movements out of the corner of your eye, or the overwhelming sense of being watched. Let me know down in the comments. I'd really like to hear about them. And if you enjoyed these eerie encounters, go ahead and subscribe before you go. And I'll see you in the next one.